everyone battles with some sort of addiction. It's not just about drugs and alcohol. You could be dealing with an addiction to food, or maybe you're struggling with desires that feel out of control. There are many kinds of addictions out there, but remember, these addictions don't define who you are. Have you ever wondered why addiction has such a powerful grip on people? It's heartbreaking to see individuals losing themselves to addiction, impacting their lives not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually as well. When someone falls into the clutches of addiction, it can seem like there's no way out. And it's a widespread issue, touching almost every family. Everyone knows someone who struggles with some form of addiction. However, it's important to remember that there is hope and a way to beat addiction, starting with the wisdom found in Scripture and understanding the thought processes that lead to addictive behaviors. Firstly, we need to grasp how addiction is viewed globally. There are two main perspectives that psychologists consider: the morality model and the disease model. The morality model suggests that overcoming addiction is a matter of willpower and making a conscious choice to stop. However, this viewpoint raises a question: why would anyone choose to remain addicted? It suggests that punishment is the answer, but many argue against this approach. On the other hand, the disease model treats addiction as an illness, offering medication as the solution instead of punishment. Yet, both models typically agree that while overcoming addiction entirely might not be feasible, it is possible to manage it and lead a healthy life. Discussing addiction is difficult for many due to fear of judgment, which can lead to isolation. When people feel they can't talk about their struggles, they're more likely to sink deeper into their addictions, spiraling into depression, loneliness, and further substance abuse. This cycle is daunting. Often society only notices addicts when they've hit rock bottom, ignoring the journey that led them there. It's crucial to understand that nobody becomes an addict overnight. It's a gradual process involving several stages. Depending on where someone is in these stages, they might find recovery or continue to struggle. The outcome can vary greatly. They might get lost in their addiction or eventually find their way out. At the start, you had a lot of confidence in your ability to control yourself. You believed that you could try anything and just stop when you felt like it. Many people feel this way when they first try drugs or alcohol. You thought that you weren't the type to get addicted, so you weren't scared to experiment with different substances. This false courage, partly not really knowing who you are, encouraged you to take risks without worrying about the consequences. You would think, "I can handle this. I won't become addicted." But in reality, you didn't understand your own limits or how addiction works. You assumed you were strong enough to avoid getting hooked, giving you the freedom to try even dangerous drugs, with the thought, "What's the harm?" You didn't see how susceptible you might be to getting addicted, believing you could quit at any moment. This way of thinking, trusting too much in your own willpower and not recognizing the danger of addiction, is the beginning phase. You felt sure about knowing yourself and your ability to resist addiction, but this was a mistake. It overlooked the real danger of becoming addicted and how it could seriously affect your life, laying the groundwork for deeper struggles with addiction. The second trait often seen in people who struggle with addiction is the desire to escape life's difficulties and stress. We've already looked at how overconfidence can lead people into addiction. However, there's also a group that uses substances or other habits as a way to avoid facing life's challenges. For instance, you might have sought immediate pleasure or relief. choosing to escape your problems instead of confronting them. Using substances or engaging in certain behaviors, like excessive phone use or alcohol consumption, can provide a temporary escape from your troubles, making you feel like you've stepped away from everything for a while. This need for an escape is another common reason why many people, not just those abusing substances, can fall into addictive patterns. In the third stage, you were stuck going back and forth between doubting and then reassuring yourself. Sometimes, when you weren't affected by substances, you had the chance to think clearly. During these sober moments, you saw how your addiction was hurting you. Yet, you'd then tell yourself you could fix everything if you just worked harder at it. You'd say, "I've got this under control." You also compared yourself to others, thinking you weren't doing as badly as some, which made you feel a bit better about your situation. You were holding on to a kind of false hope, telling yourself one day after another, "I'll change tomorrow." But when tomorrow came, you'd just delay that change again, thinking, "Next time I'll do it." This back and forth went on, and before you knew it, a year had passed, and you found yourself even deeper in your addiction. This cycle of uncertainty and false reassurance was a significant part of this stage, leading you to the next step in your struggle. The fourth stage feels like everything is just dark, or like you've hit the lowest point. This is when you really started to lose hope about getting over your addiction. You felt like you had no strength left, and began to see that beating the addiction by yourself wasn't going to work. During this tough time, you had a lot of negative thoughts, felt really down, and worried you'd never get back to a normal life because of the addiction. It was a scary time because these thoughts and fears were always on your mind, making you realize how serious the situation was. If you didn't deal with it, it was going to get even worse. At this stage, you understood you were out of hope and needed to find help. In the fifth stage, you experience a special kind of help known as grace, which leads you into deep thinking and self-examination. You understand how important this grace is because not everyone can get to this deep level of thought. It's like a helping hand from God that guides you to look closely and honestly at yourself. During this time, you might feel very low or worthless, but these feelings actually give you a chance to really think about your life and struggles. You realize that being determined, trusting yourself, or being proud won't get you further. You've hit a wall. At this moment, you admit to yourself that you can't break free from addiction on your own. You need help from outside, beyond just your own efforts. This is a big step, because it means you're ready to be completely open about your struggles. By accepting your true feelings and admitting your needs, you start to reach out for support, looking to God and others who can help. This marks a big change from trying to handle everything alone to understanding that you can't rely solely on yourself. You used to think you could beat addiction with just your own willpower, but now you realize that's not possible, and it's okay to ask for help. Beating addiction isn't just about pushing yourself harder or being more motivated. Many believe that sheer willpower is enough to overcome addiction, but that's not how it works. Real recovery comes from being part of supportive communities and having strong support systems. Our brains have a chemical called dopamine, which makes us feel good. When someone uses drugs, their brain starts to change and doesn't produce as much dopamine, affecting areas like the prefrontal cortex, which is crucial for making decisions and controlling impulses. Overcoming addiction isn't just a matter of willpower. It requires a change at the heart level. An individual struggling with addiction needs to understand that they can't fight this battle alone. They need to reach out and connect with resources and people who can provide the right kind of support. It's not about trying to control everything by oneself. It's about collaborative effort and community support. Even in our struggles, there's a silver lining. Difficult experiences, including addiction, can teach us valuable lessons and give us new perspectives. They can make us appreciate the good times more and strengthen our character. In this journey, faith can be a powerful ally. The Bible isn't just a book. It's a source of guidance and strength that can help us face any challenge, including addiction. In essence, our vulnerabilities and challenges don't weaken us. They fortify us, enabling us to emerge stronger and more resilient. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not depend on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your paths straight. God is advising us to put our faith in Him rather than relying solely on our own judgments and determination. He encourages us to consider Him in every aspect of our lives, promising that He will guide us on the right path. When we try to tackle issues like addiction on our own, it can be incredibly challenging. However, when we let God take control, the burden becomes lighter. By trusting God, we essentially hand over our struggles, such as addiction, to Him. This means we're not fighting alone. It's in God's powerful hands now. While a problem might seem overwhelming to us, nothing is too big for God to handle. When we face difficulties, they're significant issues in our hands, but become manageable in God's. And He said unto me, My grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Therefore I take pleasure in infirmities, in reproaches, in necessities, in persecutions, in distresses for Christ's sake. For when I am weak, then am I strong. To become strong, we first need to acknowledge and accept our weaknesses, including any addictions or struggles we might face. It's in these challenging times, when we're dealing with personal issues like addiction, pain, or trauma, that we're in the right place to truly experience God's grace. Embracing our struggles can be a way to connect more deeply with God. If everything in life were easy, and we got everything we wanted without any effort, we wouldn't feel the need to turn to God. We might not even think about Him or seek to build a relationship with Him. It's through our difficulties and challenges that we can find a closer connection to God and grow stronger in our faith. And the prayer of faith shall save the sick, and the Lord shall raise him up. And if he have committed sins, they shall be forgiven him. Confess your faults one to another, and pray one for another, that ye may be healed. The effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. This tells us that when someone is sick, a prayer filled with faith can heal them, and God will help them stand again. This passage also suggests that if the sick person has done wrong things, praying can lead to forgiveness. In this context, being sick can also mean struggling with addiction, which affects both mind and heart. When you pray sincerely about your struggles, God is there to help and heal you, and to forgive any wrongs you've done while under addiction's grip, like lying or stealing. The passage also emphasizes the importance of community. It tells us to openly admit our faults to one another and pray for each other. This mutual support and prayer can lead to healing, not just from God directly, but through the care and aid of our community, our friends in faith. It's about sharing our struggles, being honest, and showing our vulnerabilities to others who can offer support, like a church group, close friends, or family. So what James is really highlighting is the power of faith, prayer, and community support in overcoming life's challenges, including addiction. It reminds us that investing in spiritual and communal connections can bring lasting and meaningful healing. Be not deceived. Evil communications corrupt good manners. This tells us, do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character. This means the people you spend time with can influence your behavior and values. If you're always alone, you might struggle with negative thoughts or habits without anyone to challenge or encourage you. It's important to find and be part of a positive group of people, whether that's friends, family, counselors, or support groups. These people should inspire and support you to be your best. Remembering and considering this advice regularly can help guide your choices and actions. Behold, I will bring it health and cure, and I will cure them, and will reveal unto them the abundance of peace and truth. Who is talking here? It is God who is speaking. He promises to bring health and healing, not through our own efforts, but through His power. This passage reassures us that even challenges that seem insurmountable, like addictions, are possible for God to overcome. He doesn't just offer a temporary fix, He promises a complete cure. Moreover, God pledges to provide not just a bit of peace, but a vast abundance of it, along with truth. Essentially, God is offering to bring meaningful purpose and deep peace into our lives. People don't suddenly become addicts. It's important to understand why it happens and get to the bottom of it. We believe that God will help us, not just manage the problem, but actually cure it. He guides us to follow His teachings. It's crucial to remember and think deeply about what the Bible says, keeping its messages close to our hearts. We should often reflect on these words, put aside our own ideas, and trust in God's guidance.